understanding how do we assess a particular mental disorder, we would look at different aspects to the characteristics of any kind of psychological assessment. Basically, any assessment has to be evidence based, it has to be reliable and valid, as I already said. The test and the tools that we use have to be standardized. There has to be some kind of formal evaluation and some kind of formal understanding of the psychological functioning of the person. So when I say psychological functioning, I mean there has to be a strong cognitive functioning, personality functioning, and of course the psychological functioning. Moving on, there should be a strong research basis, research findings, and there has to be some kind of scientifically proved viable theories to support the assessment. Along with it, the assessment must have empirical evidences evaluating the assessment process. When we consider these characteristics, it is kept in mind that the psychological assessment is considered to be a strong one. One of the assessment methods is called clinical interview. Now, a detail about the clinical interview has been mentioned in the structured clinical interview for DSM-4 disorders. Now, basically, we will also find the details in SCID for Axis 1, SCID 2 for Axis 2. Now, basically, it says, and any interview is basically a face-to-face interview where we're going to be looking at certain verbal responses that the client gives you and certain non-verbal behaviors that you need to observe while the client is speaking to you. And the details of these kind of interviews or widely used interviews, as I mentioned, is already given in the SCID 4. Now, another process of assessment is a detailed mental status examination. Now, you can have a look at the MMSE, which is the mini mental status examination. This is basically understanding the verbal and non-verbal features that you want to assess, and it is a very structured tool accepted worldwide, basically used for screening for any kind of disease and mental status of a client. Now, we also look at the behavioral and multicultural assessment of the individual, because we need to keep in mind the target behavior. We need to look at the analog observation and the vivo observation. Now, basically, what is a vivo observation is when you observe a particular behavior in a natural setting versus a clinician's office or a closed laboratory. So, behavior can be observed in both the places. So, we need to look at where we are observing, and this is also looking at self-report written by the client, behavioral interviewing, the self-monitoring, that means which a client keeps a record or writes a journal or a diary of certain frequently seen behaviors that he is showing, and then the clinicians evaluate the clients by talking to them, by looking at the journal. So these are certain assessment methods that we can use. Another common assessment methods that we're going to be using is known as the neuropsychological assessment. Now, this is basically collecting and gathering information on the client's mental functioning in terms and basis of psychological tests. So what we do is we take the help of certain clinical tools, we present it to the client, and then we look at his performance and try to gauge certain symptoms and come to a diagnosis. Some common tests that we use for intelligence is WAIS, WISC. They have digit spans. We have the draw person test. We have the Wisconsin card sorting test. These are certain tests that we use, just to name a few of them, to understand the neurological functioning of your client. And lastly, we look at the neuroimaging. So basically, we call this peeping into the brain. So it's important that we look at the brain structure, the brain functioning, the levels of activity, and this can only be done by using certain technology. So we use neuroimaging techniques with EEG, CT scan, MRI, PT, the fMRI, the MRIs, etc. So these are certain assessment tools that one would use. So just to summarize today's Unit 1 on abnormal psychology, what we did was we first understood what is abnormal psychology. So we defined the definition with the 5 criteria given by DSM. Moving on, we said that the word abnormal behavior or the word mentally ill patient has come in with different perspective. There has been a biological perspective, there has been a psychological perspective, and a socio-cultural perspective. Putting all the 3 perspectives together, an interactive approach is known as the biopsychosocial approach. Then we went into understanding the different themes in understanding abnormal psychology, and we said, moving on from the past, we have the spiritual approach, we move on to a more humanitarian approach, and definitely in the 19th century we look at the more scientific approach of understanding human behavior. Now, apart from understanding the terminology of client and patient and clinician, we understood what is the diagnostic process using the DSM-5 and how DSM-5 is different from DSM-4R. All the manuals have given their own importance, and these have been accepted by the World Health Organization. Along with DSM-5, we can also be using the ICD, which was also developed by the WHO. Now, I quickly mention that there are certain disorders of behavior, that these patterns of behavior technically exist only within certain particular cultures. We moved on to certain psychological assessment tools by understanding first what are the characteristics of a good assessment tool, moving on to understanding what is a clinical interview, the mental status examination, the behavioral multicultural assessment patterns, the neuropsychological assessment, and the last, and that is neuroimaging. Thank you so much for listening to my video. I hope the slides are going to be useful.